The young man placed the final stones in the northwest entrance to his grotto, creating a barricade. Closing the entrance would serve two purposes. One was to conceal the light from his campfire, and the other was to keep out the cold wind that would soon blow non-stop in the months ahead. The refuge he created for himself was nothing more than a space under large rocks. It was one of nature's mysteries. It was as if some strong and powerful force had stacked countless boulders, leaving just enough space with curved entrance for human existence and concealment. To enter, Lische had to be on his hands and knees. Once inside, he could almost stand erect. The room was about 8 feet wide and 10 feet long. There was a small opening in the back where smoke from his fire could escape. It wasn't easy living like a mole under boulders of rock when his young wife and son were snug and cozy just 3,000 feet down the mountain. Although there were better caves in the mountains for a man to shelter in, they were just too far away to serve his purpose. He was close enough from this location to look after things. If he should happen to hear rifle shots, it would only be a quick dash down the mountain. For better or worse, this was what he had chosen, and it was too late to change his position. He didn't consider himself a coward. He just didn't want to fight anyone. Besides, how could he leave Sally and 3-year-old Kosberg to fend for themselves in this Kentucky wilderness? It was mid-September 1863. His name was Elisha, but most people just called him Lische. Lische had seen a poster tacked on the wall in the mill at Wheelwright. The poster had a list of names, and his was one of them. The poster was a subtle reminder of every man's duty to help protect the state's rights and the obligations to report for military service. Even though the state of Kentucky had remained neutral during the war, both the Union and Confederate armies were inducting young men. People told stories of men dying by the thousands, but to Lische, it wasn't patriotic. It was ludicrous. What was all this nonsense about states' rights anyway? How could states' rights possibly have any bearing on his life out here in the wilderness? The ranking officers commanding these boys to fight were heroes of the war with Mexico. The fuel that kept it all burning was the hate between President Lincoln and Jefferson Davis. Lische just couldn't find enough reasons for sacrificing thousands of lives and ripping apart a young nation. Lische felt those old warmongering veterans of the Mexican War should go out into a field, settle their differences, and leave everyone else alone. He kept telling himself he was not a criminal, yet he was ever conscious that he could face a firing squad from the Union Army as well as the Confederates. He could be executed, and not for something he did, but for something he failed to do. Lische climbed to the top of his grotto and sat down on his backside, resting his arms on his knees. He was completely exhausted. He had also never felt so alone, even though he was a frontiersman who spent countless hours in the wilderness. A nagging question kept burrowing deeper into his mind, demanding to know if he was doing the right thing or just being a coward. Either way, this was how it would be, at least for now. A cool breeze, quieter than a whisper, gently rocked the treetops high above him, causing a single yellow hickory leaf to drift slowly to the ground. Weeds and small trees close to the ground had now lost most of their leaves, as if they were shrinking to seal the forest floor. This, too, was a reminder that the hot, lazy days of summer were coming to an end. Soon the autumn rains would lead to a long and cold winter. Lische wondered if Sally felt the same sadness and insecurity. She was a strong and confident woman who had been through a great number of trials along the path to this new life in the wilderness. There had been but a few surprises. Before they settled in Kentucky, Lische had tried to paint a most true and honest picture for her, as rough and tough as he could. But Lische also had promised her a good and rich life, if they could find a way to tame the land he had already claimed. As he sat in his grotto, his mind began to wander back in time. The last 6 years had been a long, hard, and continuous journey. This was just one more exhausting obstacle to face. He had no clue how long it would last.